Josh. How are you?
How are you, man?
Moving on.
Everything's okay?
Yeah. Your father had surgery?
Today, this morning.
Frankly, I think it's probably important to meet with the Minister of Health because at the very end, if you don't have support,
economic,
and otherwise from the political sphere, is difficult to really penetrate seriously into population studies. At least this is my view. I review 5 chapters here.
Good, excellent.
Not good. Not good. You have to look for other authors. I don't want to see this again. It's a waste of my time.
More or less in the last 10 days, accumulated a little bit of pulmonary edema. Wasn't really making progress, so we decided to transfer her here.
Could be the lung in itself, or could be related to the heart, the right side of the heart. It's sometimes the deposition of some material that can leave the heart a little bit stiff. So when the blood gets in, the heart is not able to accommodate it, and then the pressures go up and the patient doesn't feel good. Now she lost weight.
Yes, excellent.
Makes a tremendous difference.
How are you doing?
Good.
It's amazing. How young are you now?
I'll be 96 on June 10th.
And how often you play tennis?
Twice a week.
That's an example.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. My goal is to climb by bicycle at age 80, the Tourmalet in France.
Yeah.
But I have to beat you, so I will put my goal at age 96.
96.
96.
I will do that. Oh, that's an example. That's fantastic. I believe in people, and I like people a lot. And to be on a lab isolated and not seeing patients, to me, was something that would never have worked out. So from the very beginning, I work about 50% of my time was patient care and 50% research. This has been very helpful to me because I see the problems and then you try to solve them. I began my career with research on a disease that already was becoming the #1 killer, which is heart attacks. The question was, what causes a heart attack? Is a blood clot or is something else? From blood clots, I move into what causes the blood clot, and then you get into the artery and the atherosclerotic disease. And what causes atherosclerotic disease? This is behavior of people. Then you go into behavior. In other words, what you follow is a pattern of trying to go to the roots. And the roots is where we are today in health. 5 days a week? How many days you do the exercise?
3 days.
3 days. You
Could I do more?
5?
I could.
Ideally, half an hour, 5 days a week.
Okay, great.
Yeah. If the whole problem is a problem of behavior, can we change this I think this is how I move from studying a molecule or maybe a cell, and you end up working socially. I didn't know you arrived. You arrived a couple of days ago.
A couple days ago. The first time I met Dr. Fuster, we were both volunteers for the American Heart Association. I happened to be the chairman of the board at that time, and he was the incoming president. He was a scientist, first and foremost. And I knew about his incredible scientific accomplishments and achievements, but I was not really aware of the depth of his commitment to public health, cardiology as it related to public health.
When I became president of the American Heart Association, and very short afterwards, president of the World Heart Federation, this changed my life. I think there was a transition from a researcher understanding disease to a researcher understanding health. And to me, that was a period of understanding that something really had to be done. Everything that we learn from science, everything that we learn in terms of health should be applicable on an educational tool. And this is what our whole global project has been, is try to educate people at different ages on issues that can bring up a concept that then can be used by governments to have a huge impact.
We were able to then put a group together out of Mount Sinai where we would go into developing countries and test whether or not we could, in fact, make a difference.
Okay, guys, nice to see you. There's one issue. We have to finish everything in 15 minutes, and I think we can.
In spite of all the research, in spite of all the physician consults with their patients, families trying to tell people, we just don't have compliance with physical activity, diet, taking your medicines. Dr. Fuster's idea was that if we intervene at a very early age, would we be able to create a group of adults who do comply?
Nuestra amiga Tomasa es la amiguita que nos da ¿qué?
Leche.
Leche. ¿La leche dónde viene? De nuestra amiguita Tomasa. Ya va, una sorpresita.
Quiero tomar una leche.
Ayúdenme ustedes al tiempo, a ver. Los niños tienen 4 años y medio y otros ya se están acercando a los 5. Todos los conocimientos que uno les brinde, ellos los captan súper rápido. Entonces, temas como del corazón, como lo de la clasificación de los alimentos, cómo se debe alimentar uno bien. Ellos son una esponjita de saberes. Bueno, tenemos una población vulnerable. Entonces son niños que tienen muchas carencias económicas, carencias afectivas. Acá son papitos que son trabajadores ambulantes, muchas mamitas cabezas de familia, sino que no están como instruidos o capacitados para tener esta buena alimentación. Aquellos adquieran desde su casa, desde su familia, hábitos que les ayuden a consumir alimentos saludables. Vaca, muy bien. Porque ya nos alimentamos, ya comimos los alimentos. ¿Hoy qué nos falta hacer?
La oración.
Muy bien, David. ¿Quién quiere hacer la oración? Listo, David, ven.
Bendito Jesús.
Niñito Jesús.
Bendito mío.
Niñito mío.
Dame tu corazón.
Dame tu corazón.
Y toma el mío.
Y toma el mío.
Dé la vuelta, por favor. Doctor Mejía, nuestro director científico.
¿Cómo está usted?
Doctor Fuster, qué rico tenerlo.
Colombia, España, Kenia, la isla de Granada, todos son proyectos que tenemos. ¿Qué importa dónde lo haga si todos somos iguales? ¿Usted creen que los niños aquí en la isla de Granada son distintos a los de Colombia? Y es que todos somos muy parecidos emocionalmente. No hay el concepto de cuidarse, señores. Aquí es donde hay el gran problema. Hay el concepto de una pequeña cosa. Ahora yo voy a perder peso porque tengo un casamiento de aquí 15 días y luego lo ganas después más tarde. Esto nos lleva al proyecto que les estoy comentando. ¿Qué estamos haciendo? Conducta. Lo que les voy a decir es fundamental porque empezó en Colombia. Básicamente este proyecto viene de Sésame, sí, varios Sésame, que ellos tienen muchos datos diciéndonos que nuestra conducta como adultos se genera de la edad de los 3 a los 6 años. Bien, si es así, ¿qué más fácil que entrar en salud y entrar en estos niños y decirles la salud ha de ser una prioridad en tu vida? Pues los resultados han sido espectaculares. La verdad es que hemos seguido a estos niños por 3 años y aquí ha habido todo lo que uno quiere. Tengo 10 minutos de acuerdo a lo que me han dicho hoy del reloj. Tengo que ver parte del partido del Barça más tarde. Esto es otro asunto. O sea que el tiempo es sagrado para lo que le estoy diciendo, pero después déjeme tranquilo un rato.
Professor Fuster, the guys from the press, Caracol, just arrived. We're going to bring them here once the game is finished for your interview.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous. Oh dear. Oh dear. ¡Gol!
Se acabó.
Fantastic. ¿Cuántos?
10.
9.
10.
9.
Bueno, ¿vosotros recordáis cuando hablamos con vosotros hace unos años que hablamos de la salud, del correr, hacer ejercicio y después sobre lo que habíais de comer? Bueno, pero ahora os voy a preguntar varias preguntas. A ver, ¿qué crees que es importante? ¿Qué comes tú? ¿Qué crees que es importante para tu salud?
Ensalada.
¿Ensalada?
Lesas. Hacer deporte.
Muy bien. ¿Qué crees que el hacer deporte, por qué crees que es importante?
Para que no pase nada en el corazón.
¿Vosotros creéis que les explicáis a vuestros padres todo esto? ¿Tú qué les dices?
Yo que tenemos que tener cuidado con los dientes y hacer ejercicio y comer bien para estar en buenas condiciones.
Fantástico. Y esto se lo dices a tus padres, ¿eh? ¿Qué tal?
Doctor, ¿cómo me le ha acabado de ir?
Encantado, de momento.
Gracias, doctor.
Sí, estamos continuando el proyecto. Sabe que los queremos seguir hasta la edad de los 15, 20 años. Porque queremos demostrar que precisamente cuando uno entra en estas edades tienes mucha influencia en la conducta. Esto es el proyecto, ¿eh? ¿Que me entienden?
Sí,
porque esta es la edad, ustedes lo saben, es la ventana de la oportunidad.
Sí, señor.
Pues sí, sí. Adiós, guapa. Adiós, ¿eh? Encantado de conoceros, ¿eh? Adiós, preciosa.
Hasta luego.
Hasta muy pronto, ¿eh? Hasta muy pronto. I don't know about budgets or funding. What I want is the project not to lose the kids. Yeah. And I'm absolutely obsessed about it. And you know, every time that I talk about, you're losing kids. Yeah. And the question is, and I understand how difficult it is. What I'm asking, Well,
We have lost in gain. We have lost in more or less.
well, but excuse me, no, be critical, guys. Don't start defending yourselves because the whole project is the continuity. These guys have to be followed for 15 years. So therefore, I'm extremely obsessive about this. This is an important protocol. Nobody has something like this. And therefore, this is a gold mine. What you come saying is having a gold mine in front of you, you cannot give up so easily. And this needs an operation that is extremely tight. And my question is, how you know that these kids, where they go?
Porque hoy están aquí y mañana se pueden ir a otro lado.
Bueno, pero un momento.
Ellos viven en unas... Cuando ellos rentan el apartamento, por ejemplo, y eso lo pueden rentar o por día o por mes, dependiendo del trabajo que tengan. Si se quedaron sin trabajo, migran. Y el teléfono que tiene, el teléfono que tiene es un teléfono prepago que simplemente cambia. Entonces, por eso es tan difícil mantener, no tenemos el mismo número de teléfono.
This project, the winner is obsessiveness.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult project, this one, and the follow-up, very difficult. But, you know, as difficult as it is important. And I think we cannot give up. Well, now I have a question for Spain. Isabel, ¿podéis decirnos en qué situación estáis vosotros, en los niños de 9 a 11 años?
Sí, en España estamos trabajando en 48 colegios en una evaluación controlada y randomizada con alumnos de 6 a 12 años. Y además tenemos una corte de 27.000 alumnos que lo que estamos es obteniendo datos de la evaluación cuantitativa.
Buenos días, ¿tenéis la nariz fría todas? ¿Tenéis la nariz fría? ¿La nariz fría? Hola, churrilla. Hola, preciosa.
Soy directora de un colegio privado en Madrid. Llevo ya 28 años.
Buenos días, chicas grandes.
Yo he conocido al doctor Fuster hace 21 años, porque era el doctor de mi marido. Íbamos a Estados Unidos, a Mount Sinai, a verle, y hablaba con pasión de Colombia y de lo que estaban realizando en Colombia. Le pregunté si iba a venir a España y en el caso de que viniera, que yo le aportaba a mi colegio como colegio piloto. Nosotros en este momento en España tenemos nuestros niños que dedican 2 horas y media a todos sus juegos, todo lo que sea sus maquinitas o la televisión. Que hay en este momento un número muy creciente de diabéticos entre niños. Fuster está muy preocupado desde el punto de vista de la salud mundial y desde el punto de vista económico. Él siempre repite que es esencial la prevención de la enfermedad, que están gastando muchísimos dólares en lo que sea el cuidado del enfermo. Cambiamos un poco Colombia en el sentido que le añadimos un cuarto objetivo, que es el de emociones. A los 4 años ya empiezan a verbalizar los sentimientos, de forma que tienen que reconocer los sentimientos.
¡Ya! ¡Sorprendido! Míralos a todos. ¡Enfadado! ¡Muy bien!
Después tienen que aprender, el siguiente nivel sería cómo ellos buscan ocasiones donde ellos se sienten de alguna forma. Luego tendrán que empezar a controlar.
Marco, ¿tú qué emoción trabajaste?
Contento.
Contento. ¿Y en qué situación tú te sientes contento?
Cuando me dan un regalo.
Cuando me dan un regalo, por ejemplo. Claudia, ¿tú qué emoción trabajaste?
Nervioso.
Nervioso. Ay, nervioso. Esa nos costó un poquito. ¿En qué situación te has sentido tú nerviosa?
Cuando va a llegar mi cumpleaños.
Después, como hemos dicho antes, la inteligencia emocional es algo importantísimo para que en los momentos de la adolescencia sepan decir no a lo que corresponde. Esto no es un tema de voluntades. Creo que es de los pocos programas que tienen un estudio cuantitativo y es un estudio científico sobre ello.
Science is the foundation for all the projects. We wouldn't know healthy eating if there hadn't been research. We wouldn't know don't smoke if there hadn't been research. So all of the projects have to be scientifically credible.
Bueno, el proyecto en Colombia ha tenido un éxito importante. Ahora quiero decir cómo medimos el éxito los que estamos en el campo de la salud. Si nosotros hacemos un proyecto y no se proyecta en una gran revista, para nosotros es un fracaso. Lo digo ya como científico. Y el segundo es el impacto que tiene dirigido hacia los gobiernos y que ha de salir del tema local. Entonces, el proyecto de Colombia fue publicado en una de las revistas más importantes del mundo, es la American Journal of Medicine. La señora Santos, la esposa del presidente, me reuní con ella y dice, esto lo tenemos que lanzar a nivel nacional. Y está ya con 25.000 niños en Colombia. The father of my father was a physician in the island of Mallorca, and the father of my mother actually was a physician, and he was the president of the University of Barcelona. This is my family. I don't know if I was age 5 or 6 here. The fact that I was the youngest of the family was great. So the work was done by the others. So I felt special in terms of the freedom, which has always been one of my main pathways in life, is to feel free. Freedom leads to creativity. And creativity at that age is idealism. And that's basically how I grew up. It's very creative, very idealistic, and sure, I wanted to do so many things. I have been always very driven to something. If I see that something at one point is not possible, I'm 100% off. I was very much into sports, and I was moving forward in the tennis profession, but one day I realized that I wouldn't be a Rafael Nadal. And that day I decided to quit just in 2 hours. I never take things halfway. Then came the moment of the crisis where I didn't know what to do. Tennis, forget it. This gentleman, Valentín, he got me one day and says, "You will be a great physician." I couldn't believe for a moment if he was serious. He turned me on when I thought I was nobody. At that time, he was probably the most recognized physician in the country. It seems to me I didn't choose anything, but this is what has been so easy for me to move on. Maybe now it's much more difficult. I have to choose what I do. But the reality is this is why you give thanks to the world. I mean, the only thing you can do is to do the same for other people. We have an incredible potential to change society in young people. This is the future. There's no question for discussion. I am asked to direct the National Center of Cardiovascular Research. And I said, I will do it if you give me funding to discover the young people of the future. Many of the Spaniards will recognize this. This is the 14 most powerful companies in Spain. They gave me 8 million euros each. What we did, a lot of this money went to education, to the whole school system of the country, who the 14, 15, 16-year-olds are the future, who want to do research, who have curiosity. We give them a grant of a month. What happened? They kept coming. And now in the CINIC, we have a large number of young people that evolve from very young age by motivation. I have very, very lucky. I had the best mentors anybody can have. One of my first mentors, Harold Sheehan was a great pathologist. He gave me a slide. And he said, look at and tell me what you think. And I put the slide into the microscope at a high magnification. And he said, you absolutely know nothing. He says, you have to look at the slide first. What is simple? And 3 days later, he came with this picture, a platelet clot in a patient who died of a myocardial infarction. And I asked him a question, this clot has anything to do with myocardial infarction? And you know what he said? Very humble, we do not know. It may be the cause, it may be the consequence. But one thing I can tell you, he told me, you should write the thesis about this. All of this came from a single slide from Professor Sheehan when I was a second-year medical student. And I want to emphasize the role of the mentor.
Y hablamos ahora de los jóvenes más brillantes del bachillerato. Valentín Fuster, el director del Centro Nacional de Investigaciones Cardiovasculares, les ha invitado a trabajar en sus laboratorios durante 2 semanas. El objetivo es crear cantera.
Habla con ellos, les escucha, los orienta. Valentín Fuster quiere convertirlos en buenos investigadores aún en tiempos de crisis. A partir de ahora, Fuster seguirá sus carreras. Tienen las puertas abiertas del CENIC para continuar aprendiendo, investigando y creciendo.
How are you feeling?
Good.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going home tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's the best.
In medical school, I was very interested in cardiovascular issues, and from a global health perspective, I was very interested in, being involved with work in low-resource settings, and I was trying to find a way to make those two things come together. The minute I sat in Dr. Fuster's office and told him about what I was interested in, it was like we just clicked. And basically, it felt like we sort of made a pact at that time, like, what is it that we can do to make things work in poor countries? We're really looking at a population-based approach, looking at sick populations and not just sick people. Over 80% of cardiovascular deaths occur in low and middle income countries. There is difficulties with access to care, difficulties with access to medicines, an increasing burden of risk factors. There have been fairly radical changes in the lifestyle of people in Eldred. There are tons more cars on the road. People are now being transported by motorcycles or motor taxis rather than walking themselves. What we have been seeing in the referral hospital is the growing incidence of people who come in with strokes, people who come in with heart failure, people who come in with heart attacks. What that means is that there is probably an undetected pool of uncontrolled hypertension in the community that we really need to try and get at before it becomes such a severe consequence for both individuals and their families. Kumo Nani? Anje? Nawacha. Lala, kiddo.
He's pretty asymptomatic. He says he can do everything.
It's interesting, you can definitely feel the right side of the heart, so nothing that's changed there. And your suspicion of the etiology for the heart failure?
It's hypertension.
Hypertension is definitely the silent killer. People don't recognize that they have it, they feel fine, and then all of a sudden one day, boom, they either die or they have a stroke and they're left incapacitated.
talk about global health, it's very important to start in childhood. Then we have the adults, much more difficult to change habits in adults.
So this is the main ward. You can see here, one patient this way, one patient this way, one patient this way, one patient this way. So there's 2 patients per bed. Sometimes, if it becomes very crowded, you may see another 3rd patient underneath. So the demand is huge, as you can see.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
We don't have enough physicians in Kenya to take care of the people at the urban levels. And trying to send them out into the rural communities is really not a tenable solution. It is very important to have a coordinated system of care in order to be able to reach out to people in their communities and in their homes and in their villages rather than having them come into the referral hospital. In 2001, community health workers started going door to door and testing everyone for HIV. They're linking them into the healthcare system. They're obviously treating them once they get there. And then the idea is to retain them in care. And now what we're doing is piggybacking cardiovascular care and a population approach to cardiovascular care on top of an existing HIV infrastructure. So leveraging what's there for HIV for cardiovascular. They go door to door to test for HIV, and at the same time that they test for HIV, we're essentially asking them to strap on a blood pressure cuff and also to test for diabetes. We really do need to empower community health workers in those rural communities in order to be able to have them be the forefront of the healthcare system's response to hypertension.
Sometimes long ago, there were some difficulties in the community, and there were people who was being sick in the community. They could not be reached, and some people even end up dying.
We as CHWs, we are the one who were empowered to be here. So we are proud of it, and our people are proud of it.
If I bring you a patient and I tell you, can you kindly teach him or her on what hypertension is? Are you in a position to do that?
Yes.
Unless we are keen, unless we manage it, unless we tell our patients to comply and adhere to those particular treatment, to those particular prescription in terms of lifestyle, at the same time medication, this particular condition is very serious. It's 6 minutes past. I think even we should be getting ready for that particular barasa. And 5 and
10.1 Kwa vile sisi wote hapa venye tuko hivi na tumeambiwa kwamba pressure yetu iko juu. Tumesema kitu ya kwamba kwanza unaweza kuwa na kila mtu si yako na pressure. Ndio maana tumekaa hapa leo. Sawa sawa. So kuna mradi ambao tunafanya venye nimeambiwa kwa muda wa mwaka mmoja. Kwa Kiswahili tunasema kuelekeza ndani ya matibabu na ubakie ndani ya matibabu.
Oh, how are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see
Nima,
you.
how are you?
Very fine.
Good, wonderful. Good.
Might be better.
Nice.
Because there's no one today, it's a Sunday.
Yeah, wonderful.
I have to go to Busia in the evening.
So, tell me how things are going.
There have been a lot of changes with policy, and this is a big challenge we're going through now. I think we are doing very well. We have an incredible team of researchers led by Rotich. The CHVs themselves, I think, are very self-driven
Very
people
committed.
for them to even volunteer in the first
Very
place.
committed.
Yeah.
Very motivated.
And the other interesting thing here is that you have more hypertension and hypertensive heart disease in women than in men, which is unlike in the West. Because at the beginning, everyone wondered, why are you wasting time? This is not our problem. This is a problem of the rich. And the problem of the developed, it's not our problem. But now, more and more, you find even very, very illiterate people actually coming out to ask you. And they're concerned and they want to change their lifestyles.
Well, I'm happy this is evolving. We always say education is number one. Is that right?
That's right.
Whatever we want to achieve.
That's true.
And I think motivation, in my view, is number two. Is how you achieve it.
Yes.
Hey, Saka, this other side.
God, that's not so. Doctor, you have to pass here.
Will you manage? Here is Kenya. Huh?
This is a tough one. How are you? Nice to see you. How are you?
Very fine.
Nice to see you again.
Me too.
How are you? Good.
Very fine.
Which really takes care of all this community here. How many people?
Around 6,000 people, population.
Yeah.
Within Cheramay now
Within
community
Cheramay.
unit. So how many CAWs are you in total?
25.
So there are 25 community health workers.
Yeah.
What are your names?
My name is Bright.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
How are you? Nice to see you. Wonderful to see you.
Sorry for interrupting.
There's no problem.
Okay.
So yake we yunta clinic ko apart from kerche chuta ko mwa ngara ngalega chumbi ngalega mazoezi na kerche kichega.
Haiwezi kuwa naangalia mazoezi, tufanye mazoezi, tuchunge mambo ya chakula. Limit stress.
And then also to avoid stress. So is it possible for you to limit stress?
Sasa nitawachache kweli.
I'm so happy to be here today. Is your mother encouraging you when you finish to go and try to continue your education? Maybe not in Kenya, but in other countries?
Yeah, New York.
And you?
I want to read and then I will come there in London.
London? So it seems you have all very clear what you want to do.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
Hi. How are you? Pleasure meeting you.
I was a policeman some years ago. Then we have been kept active all of that.
So you think that keeping active keeps
It's
you young?
the knowledge I get from the police work. The college.
You know, he's correct. He's not a scientist. Do you think that this program that we have, in which we follow people with high blood pressure and we try to educate, you think is helpful to you?
You see, if you don't keep following us, actually, we find ourselves landing in the problem. Then we know that taking drugs. So if they fail to follow us, we shall not actually come up to that.
You come from the police kind of structure, but we have to police you. I wish that people who have high blood pressure, that people who are obese, they say, somehow I have to change. Somehow I have to change my behavior.
You see, there is a wrong perception that, you see, there are some people, from the way they do, the way they live about, some might really say that, let me live as a lion for 2 years than to live as an antelope for 5 years.
This is the problem. you know, you can go ahead, and this is education. We have to tell these lions that will become antelopes. And when they are antelopes, they will resent what they thought when they were lions.
It's true.
This is what we have to convey.
Emily, good to see you. This is Dr. Valentín Fuster.
It's a pleasure to see you.
So Emily is actually one of the super users of the tablets.
This is the algorithm that you follow.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Excellent.
So there's one for diabetes, one for hypertension.
Yes, yes.
So what happens is from here, it syncs to the AMRS server centrally there in Eldoret in the AMPATH center.
Yeah.
Then from there, the data manager can extract the data from the AMRS system into a database that we can then use.
So if you go to the second dispensary visit, then you find there all the characteristics. Yeah, you keep track not only of the medical condition, but you keep track whether he's keeping the appointments, not keeping the appointment, which is probably more important, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You know, we really appreciate it.
Okay.
I just wanted to see, because it just works.
Mm.
And in this patient you just saw, you wanted an echo for aortic regurgitation for follow-up. It's getting smaller. So 26-year-old who had flu-like symptoms presented to the emergency room positive troponins. That's his follow-up echo.
Oh dear. I have always been interested in trying to understand what are the motivations of people, of their own behavior. And one of the things you learn very quickly is that we are all the same. And this is something I learned very, very early. We can dress differently, but at the moment that the disease affects you, there's no difference. People are people. So I think that one of the aspects that I love about people is perhaps in their weaknesses, because I feel the same. We all tend to be very loose and changing from day to day emotionally, and I think this is a problem in society in general. The weakness dominates us, and the question is how you counteract it. And this makes you closer to people.
When I came to America, there is a picture I carried around with me with Dr. Fuster on it. And I'm happy to say today I worked and learned from him on a personal basis over the last decade. What we try to focus on in adults really is motivation for change. Past few years, this sort of rural country westernized very quickly. That led to sort of an explosion of obesity and diabetes. Their diet has moved much more heavily towards fried and non-sea-based products, which is very different from their traditional foods. There is a lag phase from when you have risk factors to when you go to actually having heart attacks and strokes. And unless we do something differently now, this is going to take its time course and turn into heart attacks and strokes. Frankly, we can only help a few hundred people. The Grenadian government really is the only one who's in a position to be able to help all 60, 70,000 people on its island. They do not have angioplasty on the island, no forms of cardiac surgery. There is one echocardiogram machine on the island. So We're talking about not only the burden of the disease, but the fact that they are just not equipped to deal with it, which together compounded just spells disaster.
I was born here. I grew up here, what one would consider poverty. Growing up a poor person, you see what it is like to live in that situation. You see what it is like to not have. Listen to your heart a little bit. Our government of Grenada view health as a basic human right. Anybody can show up at any health center and they will receive care. However, there's a culture here that a lot of people don't access care voluntarily. They actually have to get sick first before they go to see their physician. So when I became aware of the Grenada Heart Project, that they were doing these checks for cholesterol and heart disease and doing screenings, my eyes lit up because I realized and I said, yes, this is what needs to be done. Primarily what they're doing is public health, population health, and that speaks to populations that are at risk, inequities in societies, giving to people what they would not get if the system is allowed to go to where it goes. And so I think this is the motivation and what's driving me to work because I've been there and I know what it feels like.
I thought you were sleeping. Oh, how are you doing? How are you? Good.
I think we had very specific goals that we wanted to accomplish for today. The one was to be in the clinic, the other is meet the ministry.
I think
people.
you are very smart. I think you...
Because I think
How many days of vacation are you having here?
I'm leaving tomorrow morning as well, of course.
Why I am in Grenada is because one of the critical issues is that the discrepancies that you see in the world we live is something that somehow is unacceptable. And if I deal about health, I have to understand how we should work in regions that are poor. I thought this was a great place to be, to see how we can start from zero. And that's how the project started, with a study here in the island, which lasted for about 4 years. And what we have is very significant. The risk factor profile for heart disease is very high. After these 4 years, we decided to act. And that is, can we change this type of risk factor profile? And this led to the second part of the study, which is the one that we are leading right now. And that is, can we change behavior of people? We adults are very sensitive, I believe, to how we look, what we say, how society view our behavior. And we learn a lot about Alcohol Anonymous. Alcohol Anonymous was a fantastic concept in which people get together, they help each other on an issue that is alcohol. So why we cannot get together and to help each other on issues of smoking, sedentary life, obesity, blood pressure? And that's what basically the project is all about, and that is to create groups of people in which they help each other.
Okay, who has number 11? Come, please.
27, your waist is 48 centimeters and 48 inches. Your blood pressure is 161 and 111 and your pulse of 83. If you notice, all three blood pressures that were taken, they're all very high.
I know one of my problems is discipline because sometimes, you forget to take your medication and
Like
it's like,
everything else.
yeah.
So you have not consistently been on
exactly.
medication.
I think that's one of my problems.
Okay, done. So let me ask you, is there any specific aspect of your health that concerns you?
Just a little chest pain now and then.
You get chest pain now and then? And is there any history in the family of any heart trouble? At what age?
But she's only like 47 now.
She's 47 and she had a heart attack? Look, I'm not exactly lean and mean, so we can talk like friends, right? So you're gonna have to put in some physical activity effort, right? Because even without looking at the actual BMI, you know and I know that you need to lose some weight, right? That
How much exactly? How much?
So right now you are at 315 with 5'5". I would say for your height, the ideal weight is probably more like almost half of your weight, to be very frank. So if we can lose even 5 pounds over the next 3 months, that would be a start. Okay? So let's shoot for that, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
People now, when they move out from one socioeconomic group to the other, you could see it in their lifestyle. They could buy and eat what they want, so you see it on their body. When I was a child, I knew 2 fat people. 2. I went to the Church of England High School for Girls, and there was 1 fat girl.
Grenada had one of the best primary healthcare models of the Eastern Caribbean countries during the 1979 to 1983 revolution.
March 13, 1979, comrade, was a bright new dawn for the people of Grenada and the working people of the Caribbean.
Maurice Bishop believed that health was the best way for economic development and social stability. He believed it so deeply that Maurice Bishop himself was the Minister of Health. So much of the elements that we're trying to do now was actually present back then. The health centers were close to where people lived and worked. The healthcare providers lived in the districts where they provided their care.
What is happening in Grenada can lay the basis for a new socio-economic and political path of development.
Now what's left was just a skeleton of what was once a very thriving primary healthcare system in Grenada. So since 1983 to now, a lot of things have happened, but we're doing the best we can now to see how we can revitalize it.
You found him?
This is our main man.
You finally found him, eh?
This is the main man.
We have been working on the whole mountain, trying to reach you.
The whole mountain?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. How are you?
Good exercise,
nice
no, yeah?
Nice to see you.
Nice. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. This is Dr. Michelle.
How are you, Dr. Michelle?
In terms of the patients that you see here, what do you see most commonly?
Well, the most common thing is high blood pressure and diabetes.
Yes, just absolutely. In obesity.
The issue of obesity on the island is one that is increasing.
We did the study.
I know you did the study.
We published it. Pretty high.
And it's pretty high.
Okay, well, we don't want you. You're very busy. And it's nice to meet you, though. And I think we should talk more about the issue of health.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Good. All right. For what I heard a few years ago and now, I think things are much better.
Yeah, there has been some improvement, but I think by and large, the whole economic crisis has really put a strain on how much we can do. We still know what to do, but it's how to get it done, given the meager resources. But we have to keep trying.
Can I ask you, in terms of St. George's, the university, they are helpful here in terms of the island in other aspects, like, for example, the healthcare system, or not necessarily is a priority for them?
There was some thought that there should be a bit more involvement of the university in terms of the actual service and the delivery of care. That is, presently, this is the discussion I am having with the Department of Public Health, and, I'm hoping that discussion can be built.
Well, you know what? You are very genuine. I would go there and say, this is a must, guys. If you don't do it, you are not responsible. The entrepreneurs that really build that university are not necessarily from here. Right. And these people understand the language I'm talking about.
Right. Okay.
So I would be...
Okay.
A great guy who wants to make a difference is talking to us, and I look at him, and I don't think he's believing what I'm talking about. Or not, he's not believing, it's like, it's not feasible, or you're talking about something that maybe is too far from our reach. And he's wrong. There's so many people in the world who has money, who just you have to turn their brains on to say how much impact they can have. This is all about it. There's nothing else. I think this is what it is. But you see, in a way, you feel excited that you are in a place that you can do something about it, and at the same time you feel frustrated by saying why this is not happening.
Thank you.
I'm very familiar with this place.
You're very familiar with this.
I was saying this is the fourth time. So we have to go back how this started. We look at what was the risk factor profile, and we found that it was very significant. This has been published. And the question is, can we do something about it? If we succeed, Grenada will be a model which we can transfer to other countries. We are not here to change Grenada because we can't. We don't have the manpower and the skills or whatever, but we really have our hands on a concept. We are here today because we want to really be sure that you are excited about it.
Of course we are.
No, but let me tell you, the story is not that. There have been many changes in this government. We organize a weekly conference call, and they were not available. I'm telling you, it's the reality. All my projects, we have a weekly conference call. He knows about it. It's critical, because if you don't, it fails. So when we talk about operations, we mean people who are really into it, and it became very clear that it didn't work. I found very passive, not excited, not passionate. How do you feel?
Well, of course, I must say that, you and I presented together, because I presented on behalf of the government over in Geneva way back 2008 or thereabouts. Yeah. But presently, the reports that have been published to ask whether the ministry has copies of the published documents.
He must have it, because I remember sending it. Yeah, this is about 4 years ago, 3 years ago. We'll send it to you.
Okay.
We are talking about the previous administration.
Right. If the minister were here present on Ireland, which she's not, you would hear from her personally about her commitment to this project. But I think some of the problems fall in when information is not shared or shared appropriately and in a timely fashion.
We've been also sending an annual progress report. Again, maybe we're not sending it to the right email or something. We want to make sure that you're happy in terms of the information you need.
New people every time. There are barriers everywhere you go. Oh, you learn a lot. Everything I'm telling you is learning like a rat in the street. You learn through the barriers. So you never give up. If you have a concept you believe in, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about the underdeveloped countries, but somehow, even in Western countries, we are underdeveloped. So in a way, I would say this is a perfect forum for the American Heart Association and the World Heart Federation to talk about the basic principles. What I brought into the discussion in that particular short speech was that we in countries like the United States have to be very aware that we are not advanced and we don't have the luxury to talk about other countries we are going to help when in fact we need to help ourselves. And I think that really was the message as I was talking as president of the American Heart Association. What was in my mind at that time is to develop projects that really could be helpful for the underdeveloped and for the developed countries, because I saw a problem in both. The Children's Project is an example of what I was thinking. From Colombia, the project moved to Spain and now is in the United States. The Harlem Project has been evolving over the last few years. A family has a component of children, has a component of parents, and have a component of grandparents. Why we don't use these tools that were so successful already in other parts of the world and go into the family gathering in Harlem? We go into 700 children and we teach them exactly what we taught children in Bogota and what we did in Spain. But we involve the parents. We will use the individualized tool that we use in Kenya for blood pressure. We are going to use group therapy that we use in Grenada. We are going to use imaging on the parents to see if they already have disease in the arteries. We are going to use genetics. There is a lot of science in this project.
What underlies these projects is a very novel behavioral genomics concept. What we are trying to do is move away from the concept of simple DNAs and inheritance and talk about how behavioral risk factors change how your genes manifest. You know, why is it that certain people can exercise and not lose weight? Why is it that some people, seem to eat all the time, but they're skinny? Is there some inheritability to that kind of behavior from parents to kids?
So the project in Harlem is the tip of a lot of information that we have obtained already over the last few years in different parts of the world, and now is going to crystallize in the family.
This project is the first time we're bringing it to the United States, to New York City. You all are part of designing this project, because part of what we're exploring is the family-based approach. So if we work with you and support you all and educate the children, that combination, because quite frankly, the children are the easiest here. Adults, us, all of us here, are difficult.
So our job is to get into all of these by an educational program with children that will take about 6 months. What is the problem? The parents. You are already in the process of not listening. That's the problem. So how can we work on a family in which the children listen and the parents do not? If they get engaged, we will succeed, because the process that we want to follow, it works. We already have information, that the way we approach it. So, what questions do you have for us?
My granddaughter to eat breakfast. Like, she'll come here and she'll eat, but like sometimes I'm trying to get her to eat in the morning if I have her. What's nutritionalist that I could inspire? Not nutritionalist, nutrition.
You need the program. You need this program I'm talking about.
Right. I'm sitting right here. But let me tell you something funny though. I'll be 50 years old. I don't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have any of those issues.
But you know one thing about what you say?
Yeah.
I agree with you, and it's nice you say you don't have diabetes, but you see you are still very young. And
you think 50 is that young?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm not even pre-diabetic.
No,
but
this is very important, because One thing that we ignore is that we can have disease at age 70 or 60, and we might have prevented by taking care at age 50. Right. So in fact, you're already talking about what we think is important, is to become aware when you don't have the problem. That's why our programs, we always call them promoting health rather than preventing disease. Oh, okay. You follow? Is to really enhance what is positive on you, which is now health.
What do you have your heart? Yeah, okay. And mine is here also. Then we are going to put this. Boom, 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 boom. Did you hear it?
We've done interventions at the individual level. We're trying to get now to the family unit. We're trying to now get to communities and to cities. And this is how we're trying to escalate our interventions across the board and really promote healthy living rather than trying to wait till a disease comes about and then try to figure out why that happened.
At this time of my life, at 72 years of age, I feel very young. I feel very young because I'm very motivated. And that to me is what youth is all about. I am motivated more than ever. Those of us who had the luxury to be given few cells in the brain that work has an obligation to do something that is creative for society. And I think we have to learn to fight. This is what makes you strong, through difficulties.
I'm diagnosed 13 years now. It's really painful for me. So it's stressful to be sick all the time and going to the hospital.
Exercise is very important.
Yes, that's right.
Walk the beach or you could walk the road. If you're far from the beach, take a little walk up and down and think your mind, let it out, you know.
Almighty God and Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us here together where we can discuss the different things about our bodies. Father in heaven, we pray, Lord, that you will...
In terms of promoting health globally, you always have to start very humble, very small. If it works, you go higher. If it works, you go higher. And in the case of global health, what we are doing are new concepts that actually are being taken by governments.
Comenzamos ya nuestro taller de frutas con arte.
We started with near 2,000 children in Bogota, in Colombia. Now we are dealing with 100,000 children at this moment. We started a project in Kenya in a very small population. It's going to be global. All of this was technologically and scientifically based. The question that we had is how we change behavior based on the science that we are gathering in different people at different ages.
Tutatibu aje hii shida? Ni madawa pamoja na kubadili mienendo.
Everything that we learn from science should be applicable as an educational tool. And these educational tools and the science have a mission, is to make people healthier.
you want to be a doctor when you grow up? Do you want to listen to your heart?
We spend few days in this world, and the question is how you spend them. Start with the heart. Pum, pum, pum. Diseases of the heart are the #1 killer today. I want to be sure that at least in the last hour, if I have a chance to think, I would say, you know, you have done something that is not for you, but is for somebody else. And that to me is a critical issue. And if you are lucky that you can transmit something to somebody else, I think you can die peacefully. Maybe this appears very dramatic to you, but it's certainly not to me.